You guys get endless questions asking what car should I buy. I want to ask essentially the same question but differently. I want to ask you what driving experience I should add to my fleet. Okay, then now I like where we're going. Currently, we've got a tuned 2019 Sport Wagon, a 94 348 Spyder, and my wife's Bolt EV. What kind of experience should I add next? First off, I think that's a very well-rounded garage. An all-wheel drive Volkswagen
with a big turbo
wagon
on
with
it.
a big turbo, a Ferrari, and a Bolt. That's a great, well-rounded collection. I mean, you're missing... What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast. This week's episodes are brought to you by Vuori. I love Vuori, and it's spelled V-U-O-R-I. It's not a very radio-friendly brand to advertise, is it? Because it sounds different than it is. But Vuori is great. I'm literally wearing their T-shirt right now. I love their shirts. I threw out all of my other non-Vuori T-shirts, and now I only wear Vuori T-shirts. Their clothes are designed to work out in, but they don't look or feel like it. They're so comfortable, you want to wear them all the time. It's like more, whatever you're wearing now, it is more comfortable. It's super versatile. It can be used for any activity, running, training, swimming, yoga, but great for lounging or weekend errands or, podcasting. If you've ever seen the regular solid T-shirts that I'm wearing, black, gray, blue, that's Vuori. And other than them being light, incredibly comfortable, really breathable, my favorite thing about Vuori shirts, they don't show sweat. When it gets hot out, I'm out in the desert, I'm working, get a little sweaty. It happens. But the Vuori shirts really hide that sweat. You don't see it on camera. It is great. They look great in everyday life, in the gym or out. I wear them to work out, but I also wear them to live my life. I've got like 15 of these things. The Strato T-shirts, those are my favorites. But they've also got the men's core shorts, super comfortable lined athletic shorts, one short for every sport, and the performance jogger. The pants, perfect lounge or working jogger, also available as a short. I like to wear those when I travel. Those are my flying pants. I'm more of a jeans guy, and Vuori hasn't done jeans yet. But when I fly and I'm on the airplane a lot, man, the Sunday performance jogger is what's up. Vuori is an investment in your happiness. And now for our listeners, they're offering 20% off your first purchase. Get yourself some of the most comfortable and versatile clothing on the planet at Vuori, VUORI.com/TST. That's VUORI.com/TST. You'll receive 20% off your first purchase and also enjoy free shipping on any U.S. orders over $75 and free returns. So go to VUORI.com/TST and discover the versatility of Vuori clothing. Also, don't forget the Patreon, patreon.com/the Smoking Tire Podcast. A whole bunch of tiers for every budget. Starting at just $3 gets you access to our live stream, ask questions for the crew show, ask questions for our guests on that live stream. For a little bit more, you get ad-free listening experience for the podcast, and you can get the shows the day they are recorded rather than having to wait till Tuesday, Thursday. The top tier, the Pro Driver tier, gets you an extra everything on the ones below, plus an extra show every week. Excuse me. Cut that. The Pro Driver tier, the top podcasting tier, gets you a 9th podcast each month just for you guys. And now we've got the new Championship tier, which extends ad-free watching to our car review main channel. That's no YouTube ads and no host mention ads. The Championship tier is now live at our Patreon, and we will take questions from the Patreon in the second half of this crew show. All right, today's show is a crew show. Zach and I are in the studio. I'm back in the office after 13 days on the road. We recap the Boxster Spyder video, which is now live on YouTube. We talk about the revelation that we already knew, which was that the Tesla painted black full self-driving video was fake, and other horrible revelations from the deposition of that particular engineer in the Walter Huang court case. We talk about 6 cars that are available for import in America right now, but maybe shouldn't be. We talk about Lamborghini and Ferrari patenting, trademarking sounds for their digital hybrid systems, and we take a whole bunch of your questions from the Patreon. It's a cruise show. It's the Smoking Tire Podcast. Let's go. Fucking fails. I've had all kinds of electrical issues today. These goddamn Porsche lithium batteries. We could talk about that first.
Yeah, sure.
You should not. If buying, a lot of people ask us about Porsches on this show. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast cruise show today. And we're going to open the show by talking about Porsche lithium batteries and why you should not buy them. We have had more trouble at Westside Collector Car Storage with the lithium batteries that they are using in the 992 generation of Porsches, seemingly out of nowhere. We keep the cars on battery tenders. In fact, we use the Porsche, we don't, the Optima Digital 400 is our preferred tender, but it doesn't work for lithium. So we bought the much more expensive Porsche OEM tender, which is really just like a white labeled C-Tech, I think, but we use it says Porsche on it because if we ever have a problem with a battery and we want to warranty it, we want to show them that we're using the factory tender, so it's worth it. But these batteries, they just fucking die, even when they're on a tender.
Even when they're on the factory tender?
Yeah.
Jeez.
We've had 3 or 4 of these things just shit out. They are really expensive. We have a wholesaler account at the dealer, and our wholesale price is $1,700 for one of these batteries. The retail price is $4,000 for a battery.
Well, if they break frequently, then they have to sell more.
It's not a tiny one.
Conspiracy.
It's like a pretty big one. I mean, it's probably 30% smaller than the traditional battery, but it's not a third of the size. Like, it's a third smaller, but not 2/3 smaller. You save a tiny,
I wonder how much weight it saves.
I mean, a little bit, but not that
Pounds
much.
or tens of pounds, do you think?
I haven't put it on a scale, but like, we're not talking about GT2 RSs. Like, the ones that we've had that have failed, like 3 of them are on Carrera 4Ss or Targa 4Ss. Like, you don't notice this weight.
Right.
It doesn't matter. Even my fucking Spyder, which is 30, 80 pounds, doesn't have a lithium battery in it. Like, and they're annoying. Like, and they just wait. Scroll down on that photo. Zach.
Yeah, this is on Ren List.
Yeah, keep scrolling down. So you see right there in that battery, this battery looks like mostly like a normal battery, right? It's not like the whole top is blue or immediately looks different. You see that little tiny blue square?
Yeah.
That's that square. That's what tells you it's lithium.
The recycle thing.
Just a little. Is that a recycle?
That one says recycling.
Oh, it does?
Well, and so this is from Ren List. This
somewhere
is a post
on that
someone says my 992 keeps dying.
Yeah.
Is there a workaround so I can get a different battery? And it's supposed to last longer, but
I can't read that because we don't have the big screen. We have the small screen. But there's a little blue square that looks just like that one that says lithium on it, and that's how you know. But the battery otherwise just looks exactly like that battery.
Well, I think that this does say LiFPO. I think it's
lithium.
It does? I think it's recycle lithium.
Oh, okay, yeah. It says LI. Yeah. Okay, I thought I was going crazy for a second because the blue sticker looks just like that one. But these fucking things keep dying. And we plug in the tenders properly. There's a special lithium attachment. So normal Porsche 992 and 991 has a cigarette lighter style thing. It goes in the passenger side footwell. And we were told by the dealer for the lithium, you use a special attachment where the cigarette lighter plugs into another thing that's alligator clips that go on the battery itself. They're not staying charged using that.
Wow.
Now, with the ones that we have continued to use, the cigarette style one are better, but it's just been a real problem. And I asked Eli Kogan, who owns Auto out in Arizona. They do what we do, actually more, because they have a actual like a repair shop on site. What they do, and he's just told me that what they do is take the batteries out of the car and put the batteries on a tender, just like on the floor. And I was like, well, that seems annoying and adds risk and adds all this stuff. And he's like, yeah, and it sometimes throws codes, and we have a computer to clear the codes, which I don't want to deal with any of that.
No,
so,
it seems like, a lot of people are having issues.
Yeah.
Well, I should say, based on this post, there are a number of people going back months with 992 lithium batteries that are having problems with the battery dying sooner than it should. It's supposed to last 6 years, 6 to 8 years. People are having problems 1 to 2 years into them.
Here's where when the cars are stored and not driven very often, the cars that we have, the 992s that go out once a week or more, never have this problem. The ones that are stored for months.
So something between the alternator and the battery are fine, and maybe the battery holds its charge long enough to get you to drive it again. But when you try to charge it on a tender the way it should be able to do that, then it's having an issue.
Yeah.
Oof.
I don't know. It's really, really weird and annoying. So I wouldn't buy a 992 Porsche if I wasn't planning on driving it a lot. Like, use it as a car.
You wouldn't buy the car if you weren't driving a lot?
No, just like, well, I mean, I certainly wouldn't buy the lithium battery.
I wouldn't do that, yeah.
But it doesn't seem like the 992s like being parked. They like to be driven.
What about if they have the old lead acid battery?
We haven't had any problems with the older batteries, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But there's other ones, like one car we had here had problems with like other batteries in the car. Like, it had a battery light that came on, and it would start, it would drive just fine, but it just had a battery light, and it was like service battery. And they were like, yeah, there's like other batteries in the car that if you don't drive the car a certain number of miles a week, you're going to have this light come on. And it had to go to service, and they fixed it under warranty, but they were like, we're only doing this under warranty one time. You've now been warned that this car needs to be driven a minimum number of miles per week or month. Yeah.
That's weird.
Yeah,
kind of,
really weird.
It's a requirement on the ownership experience, which I don't know if... I mean, there's the thing we talk about, like the Italian tune-up, or cars need to be driven, which is almost like colloquial knowledge, or, it keeps the seals moist. But this seems
in terms
different.
of Italian cars, the Italian tune-up is very real.
That's very true. It is very real.
That is I drove the Ferrari on Sunday, and the Italian tune-up was definitely in order.
Clears things out a bit.
Blows it right out. Third gear, right to red line, 2 or 3 times, and you are good to go.
It's immediately running better after that.
Yep.
That's hilarious.
Very happy.
Yeah.
Once the oil temp comes up to acceptable, then you just fucking throw it into third, smash the throttle to red line, lift, let it come back down to like 4,000 or so, smash it to red line again. Go hard to red line from 4 to 8 a couple of times.
It's like you actually have to get the blood moving in it. Like, you have to warm up before you work out.
It gets the cylinder head temperature hot enough to blow the carbon out. If you don't rev those engines high enough, they build up deposits, and you have to go full throttle, hot motor to red line,
enough air moving through
to heat it up, and it will blow. You can look in the mirror, and it goes, a puff of shit comes out.
And then the next time you jump on the throttle hard, does less shit come out when you hit it?
I mean, it only really does it once, but I go 3 times to make sure, and then it runs like, then it's like, oh, time to go now. Now we're fucking good. And the car is like instantly so happy.
You just got to warm up a bit, yeah.
Yeah. I do it with the Porsche too. When the things get warm up, I fucking throw it in third and just smash it to red line, and then it's like, all right, good to drive now.
Our Cobra did that. It would run on 7 cylinders. And actually, my Pontiac in high school, it would run on 7.
Yeah.
And then after about 20 minutes, 8 would kick on. I'd be like, now we're going to school.
Well, that was what the Ferrari did before Donnie got it. When it was cold, it would run on 7, and then once the temperature came up, you'd put it in like second gear and then get on it like 3/4 throttle, and then 8, and then the 8th would wake up, and then it would be fine. And then we fixed that. Now it starts properly, but I saw Zuckerman do that too, and he had an old Alpha that was like a 4-cylinder that would start on 3, and he would just right out of the garage just start beating the balls off it, and then it woke up pretty quick.
Man, his car collection just keeps getting more interesting and diverse, and like smart, and he's doing everything right.
I fucked them in court with my mind, and I take their money and I buy gull wings.
He does. He does.
Yeah, their GT4 RS is coming in soon, so I think we're Spike and I are going to do a comparison video with my car and their 4 RS, which is neat.
That's great. Yeah,
it'll be cool. It'll be cool. Speaking of my car, the video went up today. I hope you guys got to watch it. YouTube says that a bunch of you did watch it. It was #1 on our last 10 videos ranking so far. I did a live Q&A during the premiere this morning. I hadn't done one of those premiere things in a while. A lot of questions. Very funny thing. The color obviously is still controversial, although, in the video you get to see it from different angles and in slightly different lights. So people, I think, are understanding the color a little more, but it's very funny. Something I was thinking about today regarding the color, and then I'll let the fucking color go. Because people call it, say, oh, it's a color that, like, chicks like. Yeah. Yeah, it is. And doesn't that seem like a good idea? If you were buying a car, people are like, oh, you get a car, you meet chicks. You should get one that girls actually like. If you want.
Well, but I think it's the difference of, like, if a woman sees that car, does she want to fuck you or does she want to have your car?
Dude, I have women swerve lanes to talk to me about my car. That's never happened in any other car I've had, ever. Like, the best reaction before that was the DeLorean, because when you have the DeLorean, now you're kind of quirky and funny and interesting. You're not too serious. You know what I mean? The most dude Skyline was 100% dudes.
Yeah, of
all
course.
dudes all the time, right? The Safari car, that got some women thought that was kind of neat too, but overwhelmingly mostly nerds would ask about that. A lot of people would look at you like you were stupid for driving an off-road sports car. But this car, some men like it, some men don't like it, it's fine. Women go batshit for it. And if you're going to drive a sports car, and I'm not trying to meet women, I'm fucking married. I don't care about meeting women. That was not a goal. But if you have a choice to choose a color, choosing one that women like is just better. You're the experience of driving a car, even if you don't want to meet women, and having random women you don't know have overwhelmingly positive reactions to that car without knowing you, without knowing anything else about it, especially if it's a new, like, sports car that could, like, be considered objectively, like, douchey or small dick or compensating or whatever. To have women fucking send it across traffic to film you or to, like, ask about it, that is a truly best case scenario.
Well, there's like a currency exchange where a compliment on your car from a woman is worth like 100 compliments from guys. Because of course car guys are going to look at your car and be like, sounds good. You're used to that.
Right.
It just doesn't have as much
the exchange
value.
rate is leaning heavily in favor of compliment from women.
They're like the Swiss franc or something like that, versus the peso.
Yeah, it's what do they call? Oh, God damn it. Well, the joke is gone now, but I was going to say, it's like a stable coin. It's the stable coin.
Yeah.
But yeah, basically, I mean, it's one thing to get a thumbs up from a dude driving a car, but to get like a real hardcore approval from women that aren't even really that into cars half the time is fucking rad.
Well, because it's a good looking car. The Spyder is just a really good looking car with nice shape and stuff. And I think if you see them in dark colors, it hides the buttresses a little bit.
Right.
So your car brings attention to the curves it has.
Right.
Like a really good light blue or silver might.
Yeah.
So that just draws more attention.
But yeah, it's people are into, and in the video, of course, you get to hear it, which we haven't been able to really share the sound before that, other than one Instagram post. But it sounds totally different from other Porsches. It sounds somewhere between an air-cooled, like, race car from the 70s and like a World War II, barnstorming fucking propeller plane with like a big, radial engine or something.
It's got some
bass.
It
yeah,
really
but not
does.
drone.
No.
And you don't get the drone because you have the stock muffler.
Yeah.
So the bass is there, and you know, some people would prefer the high pitched metallic Nash, and like totally get that. But like but if you've got that really high pitched metallic Nash, it means you don't have torque. It means, you know, the RS cars, they're all high end power, not a lot of torque, and that's a cool vibe, and like no hating there. But like Canyon car, that fucking bass rumble means that 3,000 RPM punch is right there, and so
plus you can enjoy the sound lower in the RPM range. You know,
it's just like, different. It's just a little different. It still sounds awesome. It's just a different vibe, and you hear it and you immediately go, well, that's something is different there. That's not just an exhaust. Yeah, there's something going on with that car that's not normal. But I'm super stoked that people seem to be into the video, and they get to actually hear it. And you know, it looks fast in the video. It sounds fast. It is fast.
It is fast.
And tomorrow I'm taking it down to this guy Arling. I should probably learn more about him, and maybe I'll shoot a little something. But
he's an importer-exporter. I know nothing about this person other than what you just said.
This dude is kind of like a local legend for doing OEM plus cosmetic stuff. So people who want cosmetic touches done to their Porsches that they won't do from the factory. So he'll do seat inserts, he'll paint your gauge faces.
Oh, cool.
He'll paint, you know, he'll change, you know, your leather, he'll do hand stitching.
So like exclusive manufacturers type stuff.
Yeah, but stuff that they won't do from the factory. Right. So like my friend Court Wagner took his Spyder down there. You've probably seen it up at Bill's, the shark blue one, and he did some stuff. And so I'm going down there because he's going to do the GT4 side intake scoops. Oh. You know, like mine has the black ones, the plastic Boxster ones. Do you know what I'm talking about?
The GT4, yours paint to match? Are yours matching?
No, they're black. They're plastic. Okay. They're the Boxster. I don't know why it's like this, but you can see on my car the black plastic side scoop there, right? Right. So pull up a picture of a Cayman GT4. GT4 has. It's not just that it's painted; it's that it sticks out. It's a bigger scoop.
Yeah, it is.
So the one, see that? Yeah. So the ones on the GT4 actually say GT4 on them. So he gets them and he fills that in.
Like I would say that yours are basically flush with that fender and door line. Yeah. And the GT4s pop
stick out a little bit. Yeah. Okay. So there is a function. It does actually get a little more air into it.
Yeah, I'd assume so.
And but I think Court's car has them. On his Spyder in shark blue, and it looks awesome. Cool. Once you see it like that, you go, oh, well, that's just how it of course it should be like that. Same as the clear corner, the clear side markers. It was something I didn't think about when they were orange, but then I saw them in clear, and I went, oh, yeah, of course. You know, of course they should look like that. So we're going to do that. And then... Cool. And then also, I discussed, we're gonna evaluate together. We discussed possibly repainting the brake calipers to a more subdued red that matches the interior. Because as I said, I literally had the brake calipers painted red before I even had the car. I said, paint them red like the factory would do it, so they're OEM red, but the interior red is slightly different from the caliper red. It's not something that bothers me, but if this dude's already got the car, painting the brake calipers is actually very cheap. Like, all things considered, it's pretty cheap.
I mean, if he can match it, can he do like Photoshop to match it and you can look at it?
He said he doesn't like to get super matchy-matchy with interior and brakes because he likes the mechanical components to have their own color. He said maybe do them in silver, and I was like, yeah, it's got gold wheels. I don't think that's going to work. So I don't know if we're going to do it yet. We might leave them alone. It doesn't bother me, honestly, but
you could do the brake calipers in gold, like the XL63.
That would be very aggressive. The Mercedes ceramic calipers,
they're orange actually.
They're fucking orangey gold. Yeah. That was like the color of the wheels when they were bad. That was like
That's
the bad
true.
color of the
That
wheels.
was.
Yeah. So I don't know, but the side scoops I really want to do.
You could also just do the calipers in black, and then they disappear more. You know, like because right now they're fire engine red. They're the same red color you've seen on every caliper.
Yeah.
So they're leaping out at you.
Yeah.
So if the goal is to have them be more subdued,
I don't necessarily want them to be more subdued. I either want to leave them alone or possibly have them match the red if it's easy, the red on the interior, if it's easier to darken the red a little bit. But whatever.
all right, cool.
It's just kind of a while you're in there.
The side pods will look cool.
The side pods.
While you're in there, take off the wheels. And,
The side pods will be
spray
in
these.
there. Yeah. So anyway, maybe I'll shoot a little something with this guy. Like multiple people have been like, "Oh yeah, this is the guy." Clients here at the shop and people I've seen at Cars and Coffee. Whenever I see custom touches, I'm like, "Where did Porsche do that for you?" They're all like, "Nope, Arling." So I was like, "Oh,
Cool.
okay, cool."
Hot
So
rod,
it's
man.
that OEM plus kind of look. So it's when you see it, you're gonna go, "Wait." People won't notice that it's not stock until you tell them.
I mean, these intakes, like looking at this red car, this Cayman on Google, they're just more pronounced, and the fact they're body matched, they're color matched
Yeah.
to the body, like looks really good.
Yeah. So, and if you go,
Yeah.
go back to that. Is that the frozen berry one on the bottom left there? Is that the press car?
This one?
No, to the right of that. What color is that car? I'm looking
Silver.
at. There is a frozen berry metallic Cayman GT4 press car in England, and so if you were to find a picture of it, we can see what it'll look like. But yeah, it just makes more sense.
It's way better with those.
And I thought
painted.
about doing the 4RS ones, which are bare carbon, but there's no other. It would be the only bare carbon on the car.
Yeah.
And to order them, they're very expensive to get the 4RS ones because they're bare carbon. But so to get those and then paint them, it's like you're talking like a pound. Like
Yeah, that's stupid. And leaving them carbon wouldn't match because there's no other carbon on the car.
there's nothing else in the car.
So
No, you want it to be
would
body colored.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that'll be cool.
Look how good they look on this yellow car.
Yeah, it looks great.
Yeah.
And then he's going to do the PPF on there so they're protected. And he said he actually likes to do double PPF on them because that once it's sticking out like that, it does get shit kicked with rocks.
Cool.
So anyway, that's kind of exciting.
That's very cool.
But go watch the video. It's up on the channel. I'll make other videos later, later when it's because it was a little cold and a little damp, so we couldn't really go bonsai. I mean, I still thought we were going pretty quick. But maybe we'll take it to some different roads and different days and see if people really want to just see content with this car. All right, fine. I'll film the same car.
I mean, it looks
over
rad.
and over.
You talked about it a lot. It sounds awesome. It's fast. I mean, it's unique. So
Yeah.
why wouldn't
It's
they?
cool. Shout out to a fan named Peyton Wolf that took up rug making during the pandemic and made me this rug. How cool is that?
It's very cool.
He couldn't get the. It was too small. It would have just looked like blurry.
That's okay.
But he really got the point across here.
He did.
It looks fucking sweet.
It looks soft too.
It is pretty soft. It's actually like.
It's like bathroom rug
It's
material.
kind of like a bath mat.
Yeah.
Like it's fucking soft. Like I almost don't want to walk on it on my shoes. Like I want to either like hang it on the wall or like put it in my bathroom.
Yeah, put it in your bathroom.
It might fit in the Demolition Man bathroom, maybe. So shout out to him. Thank you
I would
for
do that, 'cause you're a
in the
shoes off
Demolition
house
Man
anyway.
bathroom.
Yeah.
Vinny got me for my birthday. Not my birthday, but I don't even know. I don't even know why I said that because it wasn't my birthday, and he just found it on the internet and got it. An uncut sheet, huge, of original Demolition Man trading cards.
What?
Which they made.
They did?
Yeah.
Of course they did. That was back
Of course
in
they
trading
did.
cards.
Yeah,
day.
of course they did. And he got this giant, it's like 10 by 10 maybe, uncut sheet.
Wow.
Of the trading cards.
That is a random find.
Yeah, but it's a great gift, but it's like one of those. It's a very like Larry Chen gift. Like, thank you. Now I have to spend $1,000 framing.
Now you have
this.
to mount this thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I got the license plate. It's in the other room. The San Angeles license plate, which is a real prop for the movie. And we're going to have the writer of Demolition Man, who I found on Twitter. There we go. The trading cards.
Trading cards are so funny because it's just like screen grabs from the movie.
Yeah. But uncut. It's like one of those sheets of dollars like you buy from
I mean, if you like the
Franklin
movie, like cool, but like I had X-Men cards back in the day,
yeah.
and it was like, all right, well, here's the character doing something, but it's not just pulled like from the movie.
Right.
This is just screen grabs and they put Demolition Man around it.
Yeah, it's dumb.
Yeah, it's funny.
If I didn't have a bathroom full of this shit, it wouldn't make any sense at all.
For you, it makes 100%
But we are
sense.
going to have the writer of Demolition Man in here, who also has a lot of other car guy and car gal cred. Like he's written on Magnum PI and like a whole bunch of other car-centric content that we'll get to talk to him about. So I'm like, that's next week. I'm very excited for that. What the fuck was I just going to say? I just got in for a couple weeks. I don't even know how long I have it. I think maybe 3 weeks or a month. The new Ducati Desert X. Did you see it downstairs? It's like their like Dakar bike. It's like their version of like the Africa Twin or the Tenaire. I will not be going off-road on it because I don't really ride motorcycles off-road, but it looks pretty fucking sweet. Kind of excited.
That's funny. Vinny said, did I see the new Ducati that came in? And I thought he meant it was like a owner's bike that was stored here. And I think he thought that too, but that makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah, so that'll be fun. And yeah, I went to a Cars and Coffee on Sunday, and nice folks, former client of ours here at the shop, is running it, and it was at the Aviator Nation store across from Malibu Pier. You know that blue building? No. It's whatever.
What is Aviator Nation?
It's a very kind of you'd recognize the style. It's like a hoity-toity. It's like a Abbott Kinney store. It's like expensive casual wear, casual surf wear. Oh, for rich like hipster surfers. Wear. No, it's not. But they have like a location in Malibu that I guess is an event space and a retail store and a restaurant. And heavy hitters, lots of heavy hitters. You know, P1s and Sennas and 2 LFAs and Porsche 904 and Carrera GT and all that kind of stuff. Pictures on my Instagram. And then I was off in the old car section with Paul from Auto Kennel, who brought his Citroen SM, and it was fucking sweet.
So comfortable.
But this place, I mean, these guys meant well. It was a nice gathering. But this is a very small parking lot. It's right on PCH. If it lasts a month, I'll be
getting
shocked.
in and out of there is tough. I know where this is now. I'm looking at the photos.
You know, it's directly across from Malibu Pier. Yeah, yeah. God, if this lasts a month, I will be absolutely shocked because it was a shit show, and the cops were posted up right outside, and probably 10 people got tickets.
For what?
I don't know. People couldn't like
leaving hard.
They just couldn't help themselves, fucking stomping the gas, getting out of there. They're like, there's this internal battle going on. Like, there's a cop, I better behave. But there's people with phones, but there's a cop, I better behave. But what am I going to do? Not stomp on the gas in front of these people they have phones out. They want me to do this.
They do, though.
And then they fucking do, and then they get pulled over.
I mean, if I see an LFA or a Carrera GT, like, I hope the person stomps on it so I can hear it, do its thing. Yeah.
That's why you got to have a Ferrari 328, because when you wind out first gear, you're going 32.
Yeah, but you're so far away at that point. Do they still hear you? It takes such a long time to get to the top of the
I'll tell you what,
range.
someone did get a pull-away video of my car, and it is underwhelming.
Not fast. I drove it, but it's nice.
No, I wasn't even going fast. Just the sound.
Well, of course you weren't.
The sound on the outside of the car is like not much.
I mean, when we filmed your car, and you came back, you're like, does it sound good? And I was like, it's real quiet actually, and it is.
It sounds nice in the car. Yes, it does. That's what I care about. Yeah, yeah. Right. There are some items in the news. The news. It's a non-story to me, but it was a story to a bunch of other people, obviously, because the number of people that sent me the link. Tesla, the engineer, admitted finally that in the deposition that the painted black video was fake, and that Elon Musk personally wrote the thing that said the driver is only there for legal reasons. He's not doing anything. We knew that it was fake. Ed Niedermeyer reported. What is the
painted black video?
The video that showed in 2018 or 16, the model, the Tesla, quote, driving by itself. Okay. It opens on a black screen and it says, demonstration, full self-driving. The driver is only there for legal reasons. They're not doing anything. And then the car goes from some house to Tesla's headquarters with no interventions. But the guy admitted in deposition that they 3D mapped the route, so it had more information than the customer cars would have.
Wow.
That it took them like over 100 tries to get them to get the car to actually do it with no interventions.
That's not surprising.
And that the car crashed into a fence during the course of that. And that Elon Musk wanted to punch it up by making them say the driver's only there for legal reasons, which all of it, you know, it's just not.
Which after crashing into a fence, the driver's probably there for that reason.
Right. Yeah. And of course, like, it implies a bunch of things to say the driver, and oh, by the way, this video is what led to this massive stock run up based on the promise of this technology and based on the promise that your car, your Tesla, will be an appreciating asset because it will have this technology and go out and be a robo-taxi and make money and blah, blah, blah. And it was all bullshit. It was all bullshit. And Ed Niedermeyer reported that in 2017 and was completely right. And so for those of us who follow Niedermeyer, yeah, the video is from 2016. For those of us who follow Niedermeyer, we knew that, but it wasn't, you know, he was treated as a hater. He wasn't treated as someone who was accurately reporting this thing that has turned out to be completely true, that the video was fake. And as Ed said, and of course you have to follow Ed on Twitter as well, you should, but as he said in a Twitter thread the other day, the claim the driver isn't doing anything is analogous to saying that smoke detector isn't doing anything except when it goes off, right? Well, that's not true at all. What it's doing is monitoring for smoke the whole fucking time. And so the driver, you know, the implication in the video is that the driver doesn't have to do anything. But in actuality, when using these level 2 systems, the driver is doing something. There's more to driving than turning a wheel and pressing a pedal. It's situational awareness.
Of course.
Constant situational awareness. That's what the driver's doing. That's what you should be doing.
Yeah, but I mean, when they advertise these self-driving technologies, they're like, look, the person's not doing it. They're not physically controlling the car, I think is what they should say. Right. Instead of they're not doing anything.
Yeah,
but obviously
it's all about the implication, right? And the creative use of words that allows you to go to try to split the hair of the definition of doing anything.
Yeah, I mean, I think the bigger issue is that they had to do 100 tries with it and that they 3D mapped the whole thing and they weren't giving, you know, the consumer didn't get the technology that car had. Like, to me, that's the most egregious part of it, for sure. Yeah. And the engineer in the deposition, which I read the deposition, I read the entire 183-page deposition. It's fucking crazy. It's crazy. The engineer who was in charge of the autopilot program claimed to not know what an operational design domain is. I mean, I don't know what that is, but
you're not the fucking head engineer. Right. But like, that's literally AV first day training. Operational design domain is what is the literal domain, the conditions and the location under which this system is designed to operate. The domain could be daylight, clear skies. The domain could be these 4 city blocks. The domain could be divided highways, right? So what is the domain? I don't know what that term is. You're in charge of this program. That's fucking crazy. And they were, because this trial was for this guy, the deposition was for this trial of Walter, is it Wang or Wong, who was driving his Tesla using autopilot. This was pre-FSD beta, using autopilot, and the car on a sort of sweeping exit ramp or a junction veered into the shoulder and head-on the end of a K-rail.
Oh, wow.
And so the trial, you know, and so they're questioning this guy about how autopilot was developed, what are the circumstances where it's supposed to work, it doesn't work, where it, you know, what is the domain, and they're asking about, you know, the idea is that a human is supposed to take over in an emergency, and they were asking this guy about human perception time, and he's like, I don't know anything about that. And it's like, what do who on your team studies human machine interaction and perception and what the delay in you know, from a human to see something that to then react and take over? Who studies that? And he's like, we don't study that. Like, it was fucking. I'm telling you, it was. I read
really
this. How often do you read a deposition? I read a 183-page deposition in South Carolina because it was so fucking crazy. You cannot believe that someone who's in charge of this system knows so little. And it's not, there were people on Twitter who were like, well, their lawyer is probably just telling them to deny. And it's like, I understand that argument, but if your job is to go in this deposition and say that you've responsibly designed this program, answering these questions with "I don't know" is not a good look. You know?
Yeah. I feel like his lawyers would have trained him to be like, "I'll get back to you." It's the like, "We'll find out," stuff like that. I don't know, because if they didn't study that, it seems so important. Because if otherwise you're designing something in like a complete like veneer of optimism. You're like, this is how it will work.
Yes.
Well, what if it goes wrong?
Well, the engineers who worked on the Paint It Black video, according to this guy, he said that this video was supposed to be a demonstration of the possibility, whereas it was very subtly pitched in the AI day and all these other presentations as this is the thing.
Yeah.
The saying the driver is only there for legal reasons is a fucking horseshit. What that statement says is this car can do this anywhere, anytime. But those big bad regulators, they're holding us back. When in reality, it was like,
I don't feel like the messaging.
This thing couldn't even get out of the parking lot without crashing into a fence.
Jeez, it's a very, very, very complicated goal.
Of course it is.
Yeah,
of course it is. That's why you have to take baby steps and be as safe as you can every step of the way. You can't go, well, when it goes bad, when it's going to fuck up and the human takes over. Okay, well, tell me about your studies of human reaction time. Oh, well, we've never studied that. What?
Well, especially like on an off ramp, if a person's going 60 miles an hour and they are 100 feet away from this K-rail, what is their reaction time? How long does that take? And then, you know, how quickly can they get to it, slow the car down before they reach the K-rail?
And also in this deposition, they said, well, you know, the Tesla people, they act as if all the cars are mapping all the time, the whole fleet learning, right? Fleet learning, machine learning. They're always mapping and sending data back to the mothership. And that makes all the cars learn together. Okay. Not only in this deposition that is not how it works. It's very, very obvious if you do a very basic bit of math how impossible it would be to stream all that data back to then deal with it and then to understand it. Like the simplest bit of math.
There's like six cameras on each car, right? So if you had a 20-minute drive, the amount of video data would be huge.
It's insane.
Per car every day.
It's insane. It's not possible. And so not only does that not happen, but they asked about the telemetry and the data from this crash, from this car. And the engineer goes, well, we haven't actually studied that particular car. We haven't tested the telemetry, analyzed the telemetry in that car. We went back to the site of the crash in a different car and tried to recreate it, and we couldn't recreate it. So it's like, not only is this fleet learning not happening, like this guy dies, you have what's left of his car, and you haven't thought to maybe analyze that car? Like, what the fuck? Like, this is crazy. And they were like, well, once you got the report, the police report of what happened and the summary of what this guy was doing at the time of the crash, like, what discussions did you have around the office? And he was like, none. Like, there wasn't a meeting afterwards to debrief, like, holy shit, this guy died.
There's no crash division or anything?
No.
What?
No, there's like no anything. There was no like, there's no like, I was horrified by all of this.
That's real? There's no division that looks at the problem and then.
No, in fact, there is no like safety division. They're like, so who's in charge of the safety division in Autopilot? And the guy's like, what? He's like, the safety department. He's like, there isn't a safety department. He's like, all of us are responsible for making the system as safe as possible. But he's like, but who's in charge of safety? And he's like, nobody.
They need an internal affairs division, like police departments have, which, you know, that's
well, this is, I mean, this is, you know, when we say that like regulators are totally asleep at the wheel with this kind of shit being used on the street, untrained people, easily distracted, easily overconfident, being oversold the capability of the technology, folks fucking die, and they don't even fucking look at the car the guy died in. Like, it's crazy. That's why, like, that's why I read so much of this.
Of like why you can't always trust the industry to self-regulate, but you also, like, you need regulation on both sides.
Yeah.
You really do. Because you need a parent. When you find out that the kid is not paying attention to what they're doing, you need a parent.
It was crazy.
And the government to be like, hey, you shouldn't be doing this.
Yeah.
Wow.
So all of those things came out in a, which I think are even more revealing and interesting than the fact that the video was fake. You could just look at, you could watch that video and then watch fucking YouTube Tesla influencers FSD videos and go, well, obviously the car they're driving can't do this. Not even close. But like, when this guy was like, yeah, we don't have a safety division. We didn't look at the crashed car. We didn't have a meeting, a debrief meeting after this guy died, analyzing what went wrong.
That's wild.
We don't
I thought that every time when there was an accident using the technology, that then they would check the data. Like
you'd think.
Yeah, that's what I thought was going on.
You'd think. It was insane. I mean, I was Moody Hikmet, who is a great follow on Twitter also. He was the one who was tweeting about it originally, and I asked him to link me to the actual transcript, which I then read. Every 3 pages, I'm DMing him going, what the fuck? And he's like, I know, you want to strangle this guy, don't you? It's like, that was so crazy. Like, I couldn't believe how insane it was. So, yeah, I really... I recommend reading the entire transcript. It is 183 pages, but it's like 183 pages, but it's written like a screenplay. So you could blast through it in a couple of hours. Maybe I will link it in the show notes. I have it.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, I have it. I'll send you the link, and it's worth linking in the show notes because you cannot believe that a technology that is used by regular paying customers, not trained engineers on public roads is so fucking half-assed. You can't believe it. And the fact that the video is fake is like, of course it is. Of course the video is fake. Why wouldn't it be? Why would that have been done right? So, and people, every once in a while, get an email like, why are you still talking about Tesla? It's like, because look at this shit. This shit's on the road.
Well, yeah,
they don't give a fuck.
It's a continuing story. It's like, that's the thing, is it's not a story that's over.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Like that crash in Thanksgiving, the 9-car pileup on the Bay Bridge. That dude was using FSD beta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The car, for people who didn't see it, the car basically is on a Bay Bridge. Everyone's going 65 miles per hour, and it just slows down to like 10, 5.
Just comes to a stop. Moves into the left lane and comes to a stop.
Yeah. And then, you know, a bunch of cars behind it like slam on the brakes, and people are commenting like, and to a degree they're right. The people behind that car should be aware, hit the brakes, because this does happen on the highway sometimes. But there's so many cars coming. Everyone's going 65. For a car to suddenly stop it to 0, like there's probably going to be an accident. There was, and then all of a sudden cars start hitting each other. People look up from their phone, people whatever, and it causes an accident. And the thing is, like, why did it come to a stop on a clear highway? Because you can see, because the traffic camera is looking like front 3/4, so you can see there's no engine block in the road, there's no person, whatever. It just comes to a stop, and then just causes this pileup.
Yeah, like there is an argument to be made that in a rear end collision, the car that rear ends is at fault. You should give yourself room to come to a stop. Yes, but if a computer is controlling this car and it does something totally unexpected and unprompted, there's also a big fucking problem there.
Right. I think for people to start paying attention to the people that weren't looking far enough ahead, or it's possible that their cars couldn't stop in that amount of time. There's like a Tundra. Yeah. The braking distance of that thing from 60 is going to be like 190 feet. So it's not going to be able to stop in time, but you're almost like blaming the victim a little bit. Like, why did the car that's supposed to be autonomous come to a stop for no reason?
Yeah.
Like, that's what we should be looking at.
Yeah. It's and what does the investigation look like afterwards? Which according to this engineer, is nothing. There's no investigation. So It's just it just blows holes in any confidence that you should have that the people running this shit are doing the right thing in the most thorough, responsible way possible. They are absolutely not. I mean, not. And this dude's saying it in court.
Was it in Ed's book that he talked about the video collection and that there's no way they could process that much data, but they do it when there's an accident that happens? Is that where I'm getting that information from? Or was it more of a theory that people had? Like, oh, well, surely they look at it when it crashes.
No, yeah, it wasn't. The cars do collect data. They have a sort of a black box.
And I think every new car does nowadays.
Yeah, but and I don't know if it was that Elon personally claimed it or just Tesla people assumed it or inferred it, that because this car is a connected car, right? It can update over the air, it can transmit certain signals back over the air to the home base. People acted like these cars were mapping, you know, all the time, and that they were sending video and telemetry and mapping. And I think, I don't know if Ed, I don't think Ed did the math specifically, but like I was just dumping footage from one of our shoots and going, this is going from a computer directly over a hard line into a hard drive, and dumping 30 or 40 minutes of footage from 3 or 4 different cameras takes an hour. Like, how is it even possible to transmit that much video and data with context and mapping in real time over cellular internet and not fucking jam up the whole world? It's too much data.
It would be a lot to store. I mean, let's say it's like 30 gigs a car because it's shot in low res or something.
Yeah.
It's 30 gigs a car a day.
And then also even like with the FSD users, like if the car fucks up, you like touch a button on the screen and it takes a quote snapshot, right? Well, but without context, the snapshot doesn't really mean anything. Like when my Mustang Mach-E was fucking up, right? And we're not talking about steering and braking and acceleration. I'm talking about the CarPlay was fucking up. I could do the same thing. I would hold the top of the screen for 10 seconds. It would snapshot the data, but it would also prompt a voice recording. And I would say, Matt Farah, June 1st, 2022, Los Angeles. And then I would have to say exactly the thing I tried to do and then exactly the thing that happened. So I'd say, I tried to pull up, connect my phone to Apple CarPlay using the USB cable in the thing, and instead it only would connect to Bluetooth and wouldn't connect to the USB. So even for something simple like that, I would have to provide the context. And then a day or two later, I would get an actual phone call from an engineer, and we would talk about it for like 10 minutes.
But now you were kind of a rarity in this, right? Like this is not something every Mach-E person had.
No, but my car had more problems than other cars, and also I could be trusted to describe those problems accurately. So I opted in to this 100 or 200 person program where they black boxed my car, and I volunteered. I signed a thing saying I authorize you to track me, for the purposes of improving the product. But it was like I would snapshot it, describe the issue, and then have a follow-up conversation about it. And then they would send a new software variant to my computer like overnight, and then I would have another conversation about it later. But with the FSD stuff, like that's not what happens. You click this button, there's no follow-up. They don't then call you and go, what were you trying to do and what did the car do? So they don't have that context. They just have to like look at that 1 second of snapshot or that 1 instant of snapshot and try and figure out what the intent was.
Well, I mean, it also depends on what data they get, which we don't know. Like we don't know if they get 20 seconds before that and they see driver put a signal on left and started to move left and the car did something like. And granted, that won't be as concrete as getting the description from the person, but maybe they get like, I don't want to assume they get no context. I don't want to assume they get all of it.
Right, but there's when you're talking about testing and development, like there is an actual protocol there, and there's a cycle that happens between the person in the field and the engineer, and like in the Argo's safety thing, it talked about this, where like if something fucked up, they would speak to the engineer, to the driver, to the engineer, the driver, and they would go back to the previous revision and work their way forward, repeating the same scenario over and over until it was fixed. So if you don't have that, if this Tesla fucking swerves into the other lane, you press the button. You know, if there isn't then a loop with where the engineer sees it, calls you and goes, "Did you want to go straight?" and the car swerved left, and you go, "Yes." Okay, we've tried to fix the error. Go back to the exact same location and do it again, you know, until it's fixed. Like, they don't have that. That's the loop that you need in order to develop that kind of stuff. So it makes you feel like you're testing, and it's probably better than nothing, but it doesn't. It's not the second half doesn't happen.
Right. They're not doing it as in depth as it seems like they should be.
Well, they're not engineers. They're customers.
No, I meant Tesla.
Yeah,
like, maybe they try to do it this way, which is more efficient and cheaper and all these other things. And the truth is you need to have real engineers go out there. Like we were talking about last week with David Tuig's book. They went, "Oh, you're building this new electric car and it's not charging? You need to bring the car to every charger in Paris and test all of them in a month." And that's what they did.
Yeah.
That's the only way to make sure. And that was just for charging, to make sure it was going to work.
Yeah. So that's that. You want to do the imported cars list? What else do we have?
Yeah. Oops.
Zach had a list of the. Oh yeah. What is this one?
Lamborghini applies to trademark the V12 hybrid sounds in EV mode.
So what does that mean? It would play the sound of the engine even when it's in EV mode?
I think yes. It would play. You know, I mean, I think we're going to be seeing more of this. Like, there's enhanced sound in so many cars now. EVs, of course, have the most enhanced sound. And is Lamborghini trying to say, well, only we can play V12 sounds or these V12 sounds, and that way they own that information. It's like owning a song or owning a beat. And now, what would that mean for other companies that make V12s? Like, this seems like a really weird patent, because Ferrari might go, well, our V12 is slightly smaller than yours, so it sounds slightly different. So, you know.
So they're trying to patent all V12 sounds?
I don't know. Let me see.
Or their V12 sound. I really don't like this idea. Not the patenting part. Who gives a shit about that? But like the playing fake sound when you have an engine that's not running. Like, I just hope it's not playing outside.
Ooh, that's a good question.
Like, obviously Dodge is having it play outside, and that's bad. But like, this would be pretty bad too. Right?
I mean, it would just be bad if it was like, if this kind of good sound was locked up. There's not enough detail here. I guess I should have done more digging, but
do more goddamn
they're trying
homework.
to patent something, and Ferrari patent also has been submitted to try to, like, I mean, they all have a signature sound with their engine, and now they're going, well, we're heading into this world where anyone with a good synthesizer and some skills can make this sound.
Yeah.
How do we lock that down so that we are special? I mean, that is something they have to get ahead of, even if they're not going to make an electric car for 10, 20 years.
Yeah.
It's a weird future.
That's very strange. But the replacement for the Aventador does look nice. And
this one under wraps?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a friend of mine who saw it in person said it's smaller than the current Aventador.
That's good.
And it can be, because it doesn't need to have a front drive shaft. It doesn't need to have a front differential. You have a lot more room in the cabin without those things. And very, very fast. I also heard about the replacement for the Bugatti Chiron, which is apparently going to be insane.
Of course it will.
I don't know if I'm blowing up someone's spot talking about it, but I got some specs, and it sounds fucking crazy. I
mean, with Mate at the helm, it's going to be good.
It's going to be very good.
Yeah. All right, 6 cars that are eligible.
6 cars eligible for import in 2023.
Because they're 25 years old.
I know. What do we have? This is from Autoblog. The Alfa Romeo 166. I actually kind of like the. I mean, it's not my favorite Alfa. Which is the good one? Is it the Brera?
I mean, there's a lot of them that are prettier than this.
There's a very pretty, like, Alpha kind of full-size sedan from this period.
Wasn't there...
is it the 186 or something like that? Or is it...
I thought the 126 or something. I don't know. This is a good one.
Well, those are the hatchbacks, right?
The Brera hatchback's good.
Is the Brera the hatchback? Let's look up the 186. Is that the right one? Yeah, maybe. I should do a better job of that one. The one they showed, the 166, is not particularly good looking.
No, and so what's funny about this list, I thought, and no disrespect to Autoblog, they're just reporting here's what's becoming available. But these cars, I was like, all right, let's strap in and see some exciting, cool, sporty stuff. And I'm scrolling down, it's like Fiat Multipla, one of the ugliest things ever made.
Yeah, but like we could get one as an airport shuttle for WCCS, and that would be pretty sweet.
Why? No, it wouldn't.
Because it's hilarious.
If someone flies from overseas, they're gonna be like, "Why am I getting into a Fiat Multipla?"
I pick them up in the Delica now. That's very
way cooler,
is it?
And better looking and more interesting. This looks like a cab you would get in Italy.
Yeah,
and it's not attractive.
This says Torchinsky written all over it.
100%. Like hard degree, probably gonna want one. A good friend.
Yeah, the Multipla. It's like a Pope Mobile frog.
Yeah, with the lights up above, like in line with the rearview mirrors. So weird looking.
It's very funky.
Pajero. Great car.
Pajero's okay.
Totally on board.
Although the Pajero Evo previous generation is already available in the U.S. and it is very, very cool.
That's got the big engine and the fender flares.
I don't know why you would get this Pajero instead of just a two-door RAV4 if that's what you wanted. Papadakis built that two-door RAV4 and it's pretty fucking sweet.
It is.
Yeah,
he's having a good time.
Yeah.
This car is why I put this story in this list. This is the Nissan Cube.
I didn't realize there was a generation of Cube before the Cube that we got.
Right. So the Cube we got was the second gen.
Yeah.
And the Scion XB, which was a box, was actually trying to compete with this first gen Cube. So we always thought that the Cube here was a response to the Scion XB. It's actually vice versa.
Wow.
So
that is ugly.
It is very ugly, and it's
not only ugly. It's sad. It's a sad looking car.
From '98, so it looks like a '90s.
It's it's so vertical and narrow, and just the wheels are so tiny. It's just a sad thing.
It's such a funny thing to, like, if someone's importing this, I'm not making fun of you. I just text me or DM me why. I'm just curious. Like,
I mean, if one of these get imported, I'd be amazed. There's no whimsy. It's just oh god, the Rover 76. Yikes. I see those when I go to Europe sometimes, and they're sad and tragic.
It's like, is a Taurus not doing the job that you need it to do? Rover?
Yeah, I mean, imagine a Taurus with no reliability. Like a Taurus is like not exciting, but like, you know, gets you where you need to go.
Yeah, and
right?
the '90s Taurus, when it came out as a Montero in Europe, won ton of like multi-car tests. Like when they reinvented
the Mondeo. The Mondeo was the Contour, not the Taurus. That was the Contour. Right. Yeah. The Contour was pretty decent.
Yeah, it was.
Contour was a decent car.
They had racing cars and stuff.
Yeah, they did do Contour touring cars.
And then
Volkswagen Lupo. Yikes. Is the Lupo even smaller than the Polo? Oh, man. Because the Polo is the one that's smaller than the Golf. The Golf in Europe is like a full-size car. Like, that's like a big car in Europe. A lot of people in Europe fuck with the Polo, which is an even smaller Golf. And I think the Lupo is even smaller than the Polo.
Correct.
Right?
The Lupo's wheelbase is 91 inches, like a Miata, actually, slightly bigger. And the Polo's wheelbase is 100 inches.
Oh, yeah.
Which is like much more stable. And it weighs 800 pounds less. Wow. Good Lord. It's very small.
Maybe we should get a Lupo and put a fucking like
and then use that to shuttle
K24 in it or something.
That seems like so much work.
I think the Lupo
became
became the Up! Exclamation point.
I think you're right.
Right.
The Up's a good looking car.
The Up isn't bad.
I'm into it.
Yeah. Wow, that's a sad list.
It's a funny list. It's like, well, we already got, R33s here and everything else. But
there's nothing. What year are we looking at? 98, right? 98.
Yeah. So things from 98.
They don't include the fucking R34 Skyline on this list?
It's probably just because it's already been on every list,
Wow, they don't, like, there's nothing, they haven't found anything sporty? This is a pretty sad list. Autoblog, you really let us down. There's not a lot of, it's not great.
I don't know. I think they were bringing in import guys. I don't know. There's a bunch of different people that import stuff, but this was like, do you want to import something from Japan, but you don't have a lot of money?
Well, a bunch of these are from Europe, not Japan.
Oh, that's true. Well,
they're all except the Pajero and the Cube. Yeah,
half Japan,
sadness.
Yeah,
sadness. That's a sad list. Well, thanks anybody. Thanks for doing that one.
All right. Questions?
Yeah, let's go to that. We got some minutes. Okay, can you punch in one more level? We're using the little monitor today. It's hard to read. Okay, there we go. Lucas says, you guys get endless questions asking what car should I buy. I want to ask essentially the same question, but differently. I want to ask you what driving experience I should add to my fleet. Okay, then now I like where we're going. Currently, we've got a tuned 2019 Sport Wagon, a 94 348 Spyder, and my wife's Bolt EV. What kind of experience should I add next? First off, I think that's a very well-rounded garage. An all-wheel drive Volkswagen
with a big turbo
wagon
on
with
it.
a big turbo, a Ferrari, and a Bolt. That's a great, well-rounded collection. I mean, you're missing some kind of truck or SUV. So I would say maybe a 1996 Ford Bronco.
That's a good one.
You know, those are fucking great.
Two-door Tahoe, something like that.
Yeah, a
cool.
a mid-90s two-door Tahoe would be excellent, or a Jeep Cherokee Sport, like a late 90s or 2000 Jeep Cherokee Sport end of the run. So something a little trucky.
Yeah, just make sure it's a lot bigger than the Sport Wagon, so that way it's not too much of an overlap.
Yeah, or maybe something like an older classic, like maybe like a either like if you've got the money, maybe like an E-type Jag, or maybe like a
oh, I'd go 60s Muscle. I mean,
60s Muscle. Yeah, 60s Muscle could do it, or something like a cruiser, like a cool cruiser. Like a big Lincoln or an old Caddy, maybe
like a Bel Air convertible, something like that.
Yeah, like a cool cruiser, but
something with some noise.
But I actually think
it's pretty good.
Your collection's pretty well rounded. Funny side note, before we get to the next question, this is it's weird. You know, I totally understand people asking us what car to buy. You know, we've driven a lot of stuff, and not everyone can drive every generation of 911 or whatever. But a recent trend is people going out of their way, writing very long emails asking what car they should rent on Turo. And like, it doesn't, just get something. Like,
they should just get what their heart desires. I think you're not going to get it wrong. That's the thing. Like, people that send you an email with a list of cars that they're interested in, whatever they choose from that list, they'll be happy with because they don't own that car, probably. Yeah. So that person should choose what makes them happy, and that's it. Don't ask us, because what you're doing is you're asking us to make the decision for you because you don't want to make the wrong decision, quote.
Right.
There's no wrong decision. Like, you're vacationing here, you're renting something hopefully exciting that's a new experience to you. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all you needed to do.
Yeah. That's a good point. It's more important to have the new experience, even if you don't ultimately like it. Well, that's 4 days, whatever. Give it back. You know, like, but you know, should I get the Carrera S or GTS? Like, it's like, dude, it's your vacation. Just fucking pick one. Like, whatever. You know, it's not that big of a deal.
And we might have criteria that we then put upon the decision, and then you drive it for 4 days on vacation, and you actually don't like it for some reason, and then you go, oh man, you know, I wish I did the other one. So
yeah. Lucas Sewar wanted to comment that our comparison video was great, but it was a bit too long. Okay. Let's just out of curiosity, can you pull up without revealing too much on the screen what the average view duration was for that?
I can't, because I'd have to switch which account I'm
looking at. Oh, right.
Yeah.
We're in the other account. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good note. I mean, it was long. It was like 26 minutes or something, right?
It was, but it wasn't that much longer than a lot of our one takes, and it was 2 cars, more structure, conversation at the end. I mean, I think if you look at some of the, we can call them competition or colleagues out there, whichever you want to do, people have videos ranging from 15 minutes to like 42 minutes.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's just, what does the story dictate and what's the call for?
Yeah.
So,
someone sent me a link to a video because we had talked. Apparently, somebody, don't know fucking who, don't really care, had their house raided after posting street racing videos. Now, these videos were described to me as fast driving videos, but I went and looked, and they're full-on street racing videos.
Whoa.
And videos of the guy street racing.
Oh.
And the cops raided his house.
Like
now,
0 to like drag racing,
like,
or
yeah,
freeway?
like straight up street racing, like freeway shut down street racing, not going quick in the canyons, like fucking, you know, people around street racing. And the cops raided this house. Okay. Maybe right, and who knows who knows whatever else this guy was doing.
True.
But he was like, "Here's an explainer video for you to like see what happened." And he sent me this video. It was 37 minutes long, and I was like, "I'm not watching this. You think I got 40 minutes to watch this? Give me a paragraph, bro." So anyway,
if they transcribe it into a deposition, then you'll read it.
then I'll read it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Wow. There's a lot of words on this one. Let me try to summarize. Richard H. I'm thinking about getting a plug-in hybrid, watching and reading various reviews. I've noticed that many journalists complain about not having enough electric range, in some cases saying there should be 70 to 100 miles, and he thinks this missing the point of how these cars could get used. Why do we think auto journalists, including knowledgeable people, miss this point? That is a fair question, and if that's what people are saying, I disagree. I had a Volt with 45 miles of electric range, and that was absolutely sufficient, and I almost never drove on gas. I think it depends on where some of these people live. I mean, some of these folks live deep in suburbia, and it might be 10 or 15 miles to the grocery store, or something like that. You know, I don't know exactly which videos you referred to, and what other journalists said this or why. You know, maybe they just want to. First off, it's almost like when you ask consumers what they want from their next car, they will always, every single time, tell you they want more interior space, even if they've bought a Mini.
Right.
That's why Minis are huge now, because people don't realize, hey, I've bought a Mini. It should probably be small. Like, you know, so I'm not entirely surprised that automotive journalists would say, well, I'd like more range, because driving on electricity is...
You're going on a ski trip, people go outside and they go, it's cold.
Yeah.
Like, no shit.
Yeah. I mean, they probably say that because they like driving on electric because it's pleasant, and they want to do that more. You know, and driving most hybrids on the gas powertrain feels less refined and luxurious than driving around on electricity. And that's the way it goes. But I disagree. I think if you have 30 miles, 40 miles, that's plenty for me. I could drive... It's, you know, if I'm not going up to the mountains, if I'm just in the city, 30 miles is easily a whole day worth of driving for me, and more most of the time. But
I also think most journalists are well aware that the average person drives 12 miles a day, because like most journalists are just a little bit more informed on that. And I think a lot of them have said that over and over again. And what some are doing now is you're just comparing the range of car A to the range of car B, the competitor. Yeah. So you go, well, the range on this Toyota is 30 miles, but the competitor gets 42. So you have to point that out, like, oh, it's smaller than that one. Yeah,
that's true. But I disagree with those other reviews. If you're getting a plug-in hybrid and you can get 30 to 40, you're really in a very usable range, especially if the car has a mode where it can charge itself. So if you drive, you know, in town from your house to the freeway on electric, and then you flip it over to charge mode when you're on the highway cruising, charge it back up, and you flip it back to electric when you get off the highway and you're being inefficient again, you know, that's a very efficient way to drive. And you can extend your usable range noticeably by switching to gas when it's efficient to be driving gas, and switching to electric when it's convenient to be driving electric. Jake has another wordy one, but Zach has highlighted the important portion. What contributes to a car's cruising speed the most? The engine, the ride, the gearing? Oh, meaning the car's comfortable cruising speed. You know, it could be all of those things. Every car has a speed that I refer to as like its natural speed. It's where if you're not paying attention to the car or the signs on the road or the tack or the speedometer, it's like what just feels right. And some cars, that number is real high. I'm trying to think like of what.
I mean, there's cars like Bentleys or large sedans where they're comfortable, so they soak up a lot of bumps, and they have a lot of power, and they have a lot of noise deadening. So you don't notice the wind noise, let's say, till 110. So to me, like a 7 Series or an S-Class it doesn't feel like I'm going quickly until I either notice the wind noise or I notice, the stripes on the road are going past me really, really quickly.
Right.
Whereas other cars like a Miata, because it's so loud, it feels like you're going fast at 45 miles per hour.
Right. Interestingly, my Ferrari 328 it feels like you're going fast when you're not really going that fast because it's so small and it's revvy and it's low to the ground. But also, its happy cruising speed where it really settles in and just wants to be is about 88 to 92 miles an hour.
Does that happen to be when the power band is in the right spot also?
It's like the gearing. The gearing is right. The engine's very smooth. You only have to give it a little bit of throttle at that speed, and it really feels very settled in the bumps and the way the chassis is tuned. It's clearly meant to be a fast highway car.
In some cars that have really tall gearing, like he references the CTSV, in 6th gear, if you're too low in the power band and you just need to make a pass, you squeeze the gas a little bit and there's like a lull and it goes until you get to power band. So that tells me like, oh, okay, I'm going below its cruising speed. But if you're going fast, then it's loud again and you're like, well, I'm just going a little bit too fast. Yeah. I think there's a lot of factors.
Yeah. But it's not just one thing. It's a lot of things. Part 2, I was able to drive a 981 Cayman GTS manual. It's something I want very much. Are there any drawbacks or issues? I mean, the drawback of any Cayman or Boxster is that a lot of the maintenance items you really, it's not that you can't do them yourself, but the stuff is inaccessible without being able to, it's easy to drop the whole engine underneath the car, but without a lift and without certain tools, you just can't work on that stuff. So if you really have to be okay with the fact that you have to take it to a shop to get stuff done, and you really can't do a lot of maintenance yourself. It can be very difficult. I mean, they're like a lot of Porsches, they're overall very reliable and dependable if the maintenance is done correctly, and so it matters. It's not like it's like the IMS issues or any of that kind of stuff. Like they're very stout, but you can't do a lot of maintenance yourself, and maintenance is specialized, and therefore it can be very expensive.
Yep.
Dan B, watch questions. What brands offer the most value for money? I mean, I always say Seiko is I think is the most value in watches. Period. And also if at the higher end, it's not just money in, it's also money out. So he suggests Omega on the high end. I would disagree. I would say Rolex on the high end, because Rolex, I've never lost money on a Rolex. I have lost money on Omegas, and that's me. That's just me. It's not everybody, but like, Omega offers a great watch at a reasonable price. But when you go to sell it, you will not be offered more than you paid. You will not. You will be offered less than you paid. And so, unless you've had it for 40 years. And so, value has to be explored a different way. Omega makes a great watch for sure. A lot of people do, but it's like, what do you if you ever want to sell it, that's where you're going to get hammered. Versus if you buy a Rolex, you're parking it. You might not make any money, but you're not really going to lose any money either. There's a lot of people that are doing great stuff. I mean, in terms of like brands, like IWC makes a watch that will last the rest of your life. Very tough watch. You could beat the shit out of it. Classic watch. Bremont makes really nice stuff. I think their watches are also very, very tough, and they're reasonably priced for what you're getting. you know, at the very high end, Patek makes probably the best watches in the world. They're crazy expensive, but it's hard to argue when you know what goes into those things, why they're so expensive. Takes someone like fucking 150 fucking hours to make the dial or something. You know, there's real crazy stuff. But it's a tough question because I don't like. Watches are so personal, and I'm not like reviewing watches from that angle that I'm never really looking for value in a new watch. It's either like something I lust after or like something I'm kind of playing with. And like Seikos, I like to play with and modify and customize. But other than that, it's like the lust, you know. But I realize people look for value, and so it's a tough question to ask. But David says, Zach, you grew up around muscle cars and now you drive your M3. If you could combine both of those and do a drift spec muscle car, what would you do it with?
I had the idea for a long time. I've wanted to do a drift highboy, like a 32 or 33 Ford, actually. Go way pre-muscle car.
That would be sketchy as hell.
It would. I think I'd want it with a roof, as I was thinking about that, just in case someone else's tire flies off and hits me in the face. Yeah. But I would still go like, you know, like a 33 Ford with just open, exposed, like no fenders. I think that'd be sick. Yeah,
I agree. That's crazy. I wouldn't be comfortable with that open wheel drift car, but
one day.
One day.
One day.
Aaron suggests a Big Star Grill Benz as the next sweepstakes car. It's high on my list, dude. I think a 560 SEC, maybe slammed on bags, would be a very fun one. Christian says, what is the best cheap Vespa to daily ride living in Santa Monica? I saw they have an electric one now. The electric one, huh?
Would it be the cheapest one he can find?
No, not necessarily. The Vespas are like Rolexes. You're never spending money, you're only parking it. You buy a used Vespa on Craigslist, a 125 would be $3,000 forever. If it's not crashed and it works and it's been serviced, forever. That's the floor. A 300 like mine, if you want to ride on the highway, you absolutely want a 300. You know, $5,000 to $7,000 lightly used. It depends. It depends what that person weighs. If you are a svelte individual and you're 120 to 180 pounds, you're going to be good 95% of the time with a 125. Mm-hmm. It'll go 62 miles an hour. You could go briefly on the highway, a couple exits here and there. It'll feel quick enough when you're riding it around town. If you really do want to go on the highway, though, a 300 is a must. I mean, it's literally like a 125 is like 11 horsepower. And the 300 is like 27. It's a big difference. Wow. And also a 300 has bigger brakes, has a bigger frame. It's physically bigger, has bigger tires, bigger brakes, heavier duty suspension, and is also
are the tires
liquid
taller,
cooled.
like taller and wider tires, or you said larger tires on the bigger engine.
The wheels are bigger. Yeah. Like the 125 has like, I'm guessing, but it's like 10-inch wheels or 11-inch wheels, and this one has 13-inch wheels. Like
so they feel a lot more stable.
Oh yeah. If you're going to be going like 80, like this is you need this. You need. And I've ridden mine like 30, 40 miles on the freeway before. I rode it to fucking Luft. I rode it from,
you did.
Yeah, I rode it from Venice to San Pedro, like for Luft, and it's like no big deal. So that's the question. The electric one. I was so stoked at the concept of an electric Vespa. I was like, this is the shit. I want one. And unfortunately, the performance of the electric one is equivalent to the 50. Oh. So it's slow. It's just not powerful. And I wouldn't get a 50. It's really, really a small amount. You're better off buying a fast e-bike than you are getting a Vespa 50. Yeah. I would get a 125. I'm sorry, Vespas are not 125. They're 150. They're not
150.
Yeah, other companies like Yamaha make a 125 and Piaggio and some other places, but Vespa it's a 150. So I would get a 150. If you're over 200 pounds, I would spring for the 300 if you can do it. We got like 3 more here. DWBF11. How do you decide when it's time to part with a car? I need encouragement to sell or fix, as a 10-year project that keeps popping up new problems is really discouraging me. But when I drive the car and everything working, it is magical. I sell a car if I haven't driven it for like a couple months and I'm not motivated to drive it, then I'm kind of over it. You know, that's sort of me. You haven't sold a lot of cars,
no,
unless you needed the money to buy a new car.
Pretty much. Or I wanted to move on to something better. That's the only time.
Yeah. I mean, the only one I sold the Mustang because I got it done to a certain point, and once it got to that point, I realized that to make it what I had hoped it would be would mean buying a new engine. And I didn't want to go into that rabbit hole and spend another who knows how much money to do that. And I saw something else, which was the Safari 911, but that I thought I could sell this and invest in that, and that would
That's
be
a great point. It's like the whole saying yes to something means saying no to everything else. So like if you have a car that you're not driving that often, even if he jumps in it now and then, he's like, I do like this thing. But if the ratio of sitting to driving is like 100 to 1, and you might be able to drive something else you might be more interested in, then you know, it's time to let go.
Stephen Murphy has a question we get all the time. 20 to 25,000, weekend car, 1 or 3 track days a year, autocross, C5 Z06, C6 base Corvette, E92 M3 Mustang GT, or Boxster. Except with the exception of the Mustang GT, every one of those cars will require specialized maintenance that could be expensive. Yeah. So, you know, your $25,000 car is going to require, I mean, the C5 maybe less, but it's going to feel like a pretty cheap, shitty car. You know, C5s are very plasticky. They're fast, especially the Z06s. But, you know, 25K will get you an okay one. But those Corvettes have unique parts that aren't shared with other GM. The engines are strong and the gearbox are strong, but little shit will get you. E92 M3s, very expensive to maintain.
Yeah, hard to get for 20 also. Yeah. Like really hard to find. A $25,000 Boxster is going to be okay, not great. And you might break something that would total it. You know, I would say for that budget, you know, you get a great Mustang GT and you'll have money over to do stuff. I mean, maybe Camaros, you know, you might be able to get a really good Camaro. SS1LE.
1LE.
If you find it, that'd be great.
Yeah. I mean, it'll grate you. Weekend fun, twisty road. I mean, you could get a Miata. You get a great Miata. Like a great Miata. You get a BRZ or an 86 for 20 to 25,000.
You get a lot of BRZ or 86.
But I would not get anything that had a brand new MSRP of $70,000 or $80,000 for $25K and think you're going to do track days in it and not go through some expensive ass consumables and find other problems. All right.
There are more.
There what?
There are more.
Oh, there are? Oh, wow, there's a bunch more. Oh, I thought there was way fewer. Okay.
We're zoomed in.
Yeah, I guess. Okay. I have a Panamera 4S and a Tune. Oh, Jesus, wait, hang on. I want another. Basically, I want another SUV. Should I get a 70,000 mile Cayenne Turbo or GTS, or go new and get a Bronco? I'm in Houston. I mean, can you get a Bronco? We just did a story about how nobody can get Broncos.
Right. So if you missed the show, you might be on a 2-year wait list for a Bronco unless you get very specific trim levels and you don't want a hardtop. So Dre, if you don't know that story, listen to our show last week because that may change your choice.
Yeah.
Like drastically. I mean, a 70,000 mile Cayenne that seems kind of like a high mile situation.
That seems like a high mile situation.
Great cruiser. But.
And Cayennes, Vinny had a Cayenne GTS. Everything was $2,000.
Yes.
Like every little thing. It's not like it's like a real used versus new kind of thing. And I mean, there's got to be something in between. Like, can you get Can you like? Can
like
you
an
get
X3?
Yeah, like
that,
or
like
a
an
Macan,
X3
or like
yeah.
a Q5, or even like a Grand Cherokee, if you wanted something like that. A Durango, like RT, maybe.
That's a fun car.
You know, but like Broncos are not like, they're okay on the highway. They're not great. They're kind of loud. If you're in Texas, it's like a lot of highway driving, and an old Cayenne Turbo or GTS is going to be expensive.
Yeah, if you want I mean, because you already have a Panamera, so if you want a lifted Panamera, I understand why you're drawn to the Cayenne, but I would look at like a really nicely spec Tahoe or Grand Cherokee will be cheaper to repair if something goes wrong, and can be plenty nice cruiser on the highway. The Bronco is such a loud highway vehicle.
It is.
Yeah.
A lot of wind noise.
If you're off-roading, sure, but if you're not, then you're just buying something that looks cool and is uncomfortable to drive on the highway for a long time.
Yeah, better than a Wrangler, but worse than most other things.
Yep.
Derek Yegan has a very specific question about race cars, and I don't know anything about it. I don't know.
About the Daytona, yeah.
I cannot make myself give even the littlest bit of a fuck about prototype class race cars. I just can't. I just don't care. I'm happy for them.
It's hard because it's really hard to relate to them unless you're really into the racing, but they don't look like a street car for the most part. Yeah. So it's just a top tier of a race that we don't really watch.
Yeah, my favorite thing about racing is listening to Bosie's recaps and watching Drive to Survive, because just like regular sports for me, the backstory is more important than the race itself.
Yeah.
And then little bits and pieces of fun tech tips, but like, I just don't care. Can't care. Sorry, Derek.
For internal.
Oh, that's an internal thing. Yeah. Okay. Anything else? Jordan, answer is no. And Jordan asked me a yes or no question, and the answer is no. Red Rover says, recommendations for replacing the seats in my C6 Corvette. Daily commuter on the expressways around Chicago and occasional road trips. Looking for more comfort. I've never heard someone ask to replace the seats in C6 for more comfort. I've heard more support. You know, and I replaced the seats in my C5 with like Sparkos, like and I certainly wouldn't want to daily drive the car with that. Now, I don't know about comfort. I
mean, it depends. A lot of this depends on the person's shape. So, are you too
and
tall?
Also
are you too big? Are you too short?
The Corvette seat compartment is small. Like, it's not like in my Fox Body Mustang, when you took the seats out, the whole middle of the car was just empty. Mm-hmm. You know, a Corvette's got a big center tunnel, and it's got a very prominent B-pillar with integrated roll protection, like the back of the targa top, right? And so there are only so many seats that will fit. Yeah. I don't know what they all are.
But also, we also don't know the spec of the seat they have, because like if they have the cheapest seat you can get in a Corvette, this is true of most sports cars, they tend to not have enough side bolster support, not enough lumbar support. They're not lifting your rib cage up. So after a long time, you know, you just feel that pressure of gravity pulling you onto yourself. So you could try and get a seat from a C6 that was a higher spec than yours. Like that might be a thing you could find in a junkyard or online, and it would fit in the car for sure. It would look OEM correct, and it would be a higher quality seat.
Yeah. My recommendation would be find a Crash ZR1 and see if you can buy those seats, you know, or maybe a C7 and see if those seats will fit.
Oh, that'd be cool.
I know you could get a Recaro or a Sparko or a Corbeau or something if you wanted to do track days. But if you're talking about dailying, I don't know what would be more comfortable. And the Corvette is limiting in terms of what there's room for in there specifically. Peter says, do I have any ground clearance issues with the Spyder? I mean, I've definitely scraped that plastic front lip a couple times already. You know, fortunately it's plastic, it's cheap, and I anticipate replacing it eventually. But you got to take some stuff at an angle for sure. If I had nose lift, I would use it. And would I compare 718 Spyder and Evora GT? When I did our Evora GT video, I don't remember if it was the Evora 400 or the Evora GT, where I took it to all those track days. I think it was the GT. But I didn't make a video where it was a this versus that, but I did think it was a interesting comparison. I thought that if you get the comfort seats in the Porsche, then it's probably the better car all around. If the Porsche has the buckets and the Evora has the regular standard seats, which it only comes with one seat, then the Evora is nicer to use every day. Evoras are great daily driver street cars that you could do everything. You could go on a road trip, you could drive it around town every day. It could be your only car. You could take it to track days. It's good at everything. It's a little softer than the GT4 and the Spyder. The suspension's a little more compliant, but it still handles just as well. I mean, lap times on a track would be very similar between a GT4 and an Evora GT. The only thing is the Porsche is screwed together a little tighter on the interior. It's got a little better tech. You know, it's got like CarPlay and shit. Yeah. The shifter is a little better in the Porsche, but the Evora GT is the best car you can buy if you don't want or can't get a Porsche.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's really good and really fun, and it's good at everything. It's a lovely car, and even if the interior is not screwed together as tight as a Porsche, I put one on a lift. Sharkworks put it on the lift for me, and the chassis is incredibly rigid. It's a really great, it's like race car tech. The chassis is super rigid.
Bonding stuff.
Yeah, and that allows it to have a really soft suspension, but still handle beautifully. Either would be great. If it was going to be like a daily, I might even want the Lotus.
And the technology they use to make the chassis on that car is the same stuff they use on the new Alpine 110, like the same style. And it's that. So to show how good it is, it's still relevant.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really cool car. Just depends on what your priorities are. Jed Dreswick, will the E-Ray be the most depreciating of the C8 generation? Possibly. I mean, I think the base ones. Well, no, the base ones are the cheapest, so.
Depends on how reliable the whole electric system is.
Yeah,
it'll be that versus the base.
Time will definitely tell on that one. James Kelly, what will happen first, Max Verstappen retiring or a lady driver in Formula One? I think Max Verstappen retiring.
Probably. I mean, he will probably drive for a long time. Like, I think he probably has 10 more years in the game if he wants. So there's a lot of time there, and there are more women coming up in racing, but it's... Was there 20 drivers total right now? And I mean, that's not. There's not many spots, and there's not many women in racing, unfortunately.
Yeah. Brendan Preston? What are some garage essentials for a new garage build? A few items I've considered are drainage, built-in compressor, wall mount, power washer, etc. All of those are great. Hot water. You want to have a water heater. You want to have a drain, and that drain should be lengthwise, not a round drain. Oh, yeah. It's much easier to squeegee the water. Larry at his garage, his detailing shop, has central vacuum that comes out of the wall, and it was shockingly cheap. Like, when he told me how much it cost, I was fucking flabbergasted. It was great. Really long hoses, and they just come right out of the wall.
Because that's something they've done in houses for a long time. Yeah. So it's pretty easy install, probably.
Yeah. Central vacuum. That's
cool. A lift, if you haven't already thought of that. Doesn't even matter. You know, depends on how much work you're going to do on it. Do you need a chassis lift or a lift that goes under the tires? That's up to you. But, man, getting a car off the ground, if you're going to do any kind of work on it, changes everything. Yeah. Great lights. You know, good cabinets. Spend the money on quality cabinets. That's worthwhile. Organization is really helpful. Yeah, and you know, a place to chill. Ooh, stereo. Yeah, just stereo. Speakers. Yep, basic. iPhone cable. That's it. Basic stuff. Good fridge. You definitely want to have some beverages out there. But the only thing, I mean, you've considered the obvious, right? It's you know, air tools. Air is great.
Air's great. Make sure your water's hot. You said wintertime detailing, so put a water heater in there.
Oh, yeah.
That's all we got for today, right?
Yep, that's it.
Okay. Thanks to all of our live people for listening. Of course, I didn't plug it, of course, but the Patreon tier, the championship tier is up. We got some new members today, so welcome, because we promoted it in the Boxster Spyder video.
It's going quickly. Thank you all.
Yes, we got a few. Great. The championship tier is everything you got with the Pro Driver tier, plus ad-free car review videos. Total across Smoking Tire platform, everything ad-free with the championship tier, and then we're going to have some more exclusive content for that coming very soon. So thanks you guys for listening. If you haven't seen the Boxster Spyder video yet, go check that out. We have Johnny later this week, but maybe another show before that.
I think we have Johnny Friday.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we have another show before that.
Okay. And I'll be at Good Vibes this Friday as well if you want to come up there. I don't know what I'm driving yet. Probably the Ferrari, actually. But thanks to you all for listening. Love you. Bye.